evening, everyone. I welcome you to this meeting, the ordinary meeting on the 21st of August, and I advise that it is Council policy to record the proceedings of meetings of Council on digital media to assist in preparation of minutes and to ensure that a true and accurate account of debate and discussion of meetings is available. This audio recording is authorised by the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations 2015, and the meeting began at 6:03. I begin also by acknowledging the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Tomagina people, and to pay our respect to those that have passed before us, their history and their culture. I'll move on to the first item, record of attendance. Apologies. We have an apology from Deputy Mayor Edwards, and no leave of absence has been previously approved. Item 2 is confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting. There is a recommendation there. Could I have a mover for that recommendation, please?
So moved.
Councillor Hyland was first, actually, and Councillor Bramich second. Are there any amendments or corrections to the minutes? They need to be identified and agreed at this point prior to taking a vote to adopt the minutes. So are there any amendments to those minutes? If not, I put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest this evening? No declarations of interest. We move on to item 4. Announcements by the Mayor. I have none, but there is a recommendation there for the Council to note my communications. Could I have a mover for that, please?
So moved.
Councillor Roberts, could I have a seconder, please?
Second.
Councillor Johnson. Are there any questions about the activities and events that I've been engaged in over this past month? Nothing, so I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. Notification of council workshops. Item 4.4. The recommendation is that the council note the following workshops. Could I have a mover, please? So moved. Councillor Bramich, could I have a seconder, please? Sorry, who was that? Who seconded? Councillor Courtney, sorry. Are there any queries or any comments that anyone wishes to make about this particular recommendation about the workshops? No comments, etc. I put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Carried unanimously. We now move on to public questions and statements. At 5.1 is responses to public questions taken on notice from the previous meeting. Mrs. Robertson, notice board in the Civic Square. There is an extensive response. 5.1.2, she asked about a digital notice board with another response from the council officer. We have no public questions received in writing. Public questions without notice, we do have some this evening, and public statements without notice. Before we begin with that particular item, I need to read to you about public questions and statements. The Council encourages community participation in its meetings through the opportunity for public questions and statements. Consistent with Council's core values, councillors and staff strive to ensure all people are treated with respect and dignity and integrity. We expect our residents and ratepayers to apply similar standards in their dealings with Council. As Mayor, it is my responsibility to maintain the orderly conduct of Council meetings and to determine whether a question or statement is out of order due to the use of offensive, objectionable or defamatory expressions. I remind everyone that Council's new Council meeting procedures were adopted at the March Council meeting. In particular, it should be noted that a maximum of 3 questions may be asked per person. Any parts to the questions are considered to be questions. All questions are to be asked before a response is provided. There is a time limit of 3 minutes per person to ask questions. Once a question is answered, there is to be no debate on that question. Public statements are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes per person. There is to be no questions or discussion related to a statement. I ask members of the public to show proper consideration and courtesy in their comments. Thank you. I now ask Mr. Ewington, would you like to come forward, please?
All good.
All good, thanks.
Response to the council meeting June 23rd in reference to the tactile crown paver service indicators for blind and impaired vision. It indicated there the council has a discretion of where the tactile pavers are to be installed and what amount. In the private business circle, it's compulsory to put tactile pavers where they are required. An example is the FM radio station at Wynyard, where they've got tactile pavers at the beginning of the ramp, end of the ramp and the beginning of the doorway. So there's a big difference between what the council can do and what the private enterprise have to do. There's also indicated that wheelchairs have difficulty moving on tactile pavers. Well, I've been in the industry 18 years, I don't find no difficulty in them, and I haven't heard anything about that. In reference to the date of the original tactile pavers for the Goldie Street were installed in 1980, where you've indicated that there was work done on Goldie Street in 2009, which was other work which alterations to the street which did not affect tactile paver installation. In reference to the community building at the waterfront, there was indicated there's tiles installed there. The only set of tiles have been set there at the end of the boardwalk to indicate to the blind or impaired person that they just finished at the boardwalk. There's no tactile pavers being installed around the complex or within the complex. This highlights the fact that I feel the council should go for a bit of a drive and go to the Parramatta Convention Centre and have a good look on what's been done there as far as tactile pavers on the outside and inside the complex, just highlighting the fact how important they are and what the other councils are doing towards that. Now, there was so-called central pedestrian cross in England Street in front of the IGA. I didn't realise that was an official pedestrian crossing because there's no indication of it is a pedestrian crossing. But anyway, they started installing those tactile pavers in 2018. Now, with tactile pavers, you correctly install one set of tactile pavers on one side of the street and another set where there's if the middle aisle of the roadway, you put another set there. But it's very important to put another set on the other side of the street. Why? So the blind member know where the other side of the road is. So since then, this has not have been completed because they only put 2 of the 3 sets in. So, and today they have a new IGA have installed a new parking allotment there, and no extra tactiles have been installed, which indicate where to go to the front door. All they put is put a painted line. Well, bear in mind, blind people and impaired vision people can't define colour or vision. And this is where I highlight the fact is that tactile pavers should go right from the street edge right across to the front entry of the building complex of the IGA. Now, it's been indicated since 2013-14 the council has spent $285,000 on curb ramp upgrades. A basic tactile paver costs approximately $220 each. On the average, they use 3 per curb ramp. So that's, say, $100. And they only take about half an hour to install because they peel off back type pavers and they stick on the road. So in my opinion, I'm very confident saying I don't think the council spent more than $1,000 in putting tactile pavers in the community, where they have actually spent $285,000 on other parts in upgrading the ramp and curbs, but not put much highlight on the blind and the impaired. They have now committed another $30,000 for the 2023-24 year for upgrading ramps and curbs, which hopefully will include some tactile pavers have been installed. Because as you're fully aware, it's been 43 years since you've done any major tactile pavers, so there's going to be a lot of back work to be done and to bring everything up to the latest regulations. Coastal councils along the coast, as I've mentioned before, have taken major steps forward to help people, blind or impaired vision people, to be part of the community. So it's important that this council has a good look around and look at what the other communities are doing and try and catch up, because you've got 40 years, 3 years behind. I'd like to see you catch up to this year, 2020, 23, 24. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ewington.
Question 1, Madam, is that right?
Go for it.
Go for it. In January 2023 this year, I requested that 2 disabled parking spaces be built at the new West IGA supermarket. The 2 disabled parkings were butted against each other, which in turns, when the vehicles... I better read out the letter, my apologies, I think. Okay. Report, where did I get to? The 2 disability allotments at IGA supermarket do not allow safe access for vehicle for wheelchair people to the supermarket entrance if the disability vehicle parking spaces are taken up preventing wheelchair access to the ramp between parked cars to the building. Question is, when will this alteration of line marking be complete, allowing wheelchair driver safe access to the supermarket? Question 2. It has been reported to the Council on an annual basis for the past 18 years by a community member highlighting the poor lighting, allowing community members safe access to the complex in reference to the car park at the Wynyard Bowls Club. 8 years have passed, and finally some council members have visited the club rooms for night function and highlighted the poor lighting within the area. As the council has been informed by the councillors in July meeting about the condition of lighting, can the council indicate the action that will be taken to correct the lighting problem? Question 3. Reference to the pathway between St Vincent's and Woolies service station, Jackson Street, Wynyard, by the community has been highlighted by the Wynyard community member to the council in past months, informing that the poor state of the appearance of the garden area, which is an area seen by all, including tourists. What can the council do to improve this area? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ewington. I will get Daniel Summers, our Director of Infrastructure and Development Services, to respond to your questions.
Thanks through you, Mayor. For the first question, the 2 planned DDA car parking bays, I met there previously with Mr. Ewington and happy to talk further with him. The request was to paint yellow lines where 2 curb ramps exist. The curb ramps each serve the individual parking bays. Upon putting that back to the contractor and people involved, it was queried as to whether anyone other than the user of the parking bay might park over that ramp. Therefore, would there be a need for yellow line marking? But I'm happy to talk to Mr. Ewington further about that one. Second question, the Bowls Club area, I do recall the concerns from 8 years ago. Some of them were about lack of DDA parking and slippery footpath, and about 5 years ago council replaced that footpath from pavers to concrete, added DDA parking and added a street light directly in front of the Bowls Club. The more recent issues with lighting are in the council agenda from a councillor question taken on notice from last meeting, and we believe both of those have been addressed by Tas Networks. Question 3, this question had been asked previously at a council meeting as well, and we'd given the response that that garden area sits within the lease area for Woolworths, who have agreed to give that a spruce up and an upgrade. I'm happy to find out where their time frame is. Adjacent to that, the pathway, which is paved and becomes a bit slippery, that sits in the current capital works budget to be replaced with a broomed finished concrete to improve the safety of that area.
Thank you, Mr. Summers. Travis Williams, would you like to come forward and ask your question, please?
Hi, and thank you for your time again tonight. Was reading about the last on the agenda about the Frederick Street Working Group coming up, and got a little bit excited to see nominations were now available and closing on the 31st of August. And as I've previously said, I'd like to be involved in this sort of thing. And I guess my couple of questions are, can you self-nominate, and how do you go about nomination, and can you nominate other people here tonight, or do you go about nominating elsewhere, downstairs, or things like through open hours?
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I'll
you.
get our General Manager, Mr. Crawford, to respond.
Through Mayor, and thanks for the question, Mr. Williams, and your continued interest in this project. You're quite right. The expression of interest process is open. There are a number of ways that people can nominate, but essentially all of those will lead to, I guess, completion of a nomination form. So you can nominate someone else, I guess, but they will be required to sign it to acknowledge that they know that they have been nominated for the process. So all the information you need is on Council's website. So if you have access to that, the form, the details and so forth is on there. Now, if that's not something that you choose to frequent and use, you're certainly welcome to come into the front counter, and we can make those forms available through the front counter and explain the process there as well. So either option would be fine. So the form is on the website, or come into the front counter and we can help you through the process, or help anyone else for that matter.
Excellent. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Hutchison, would you come forward, please? You have 3 questions and a statement.
Good evening. My first question is directed to councillors that I sent an email to. Why haven't councillors responded to my questions from last meeting that I emailed to your council email?
Your question 2, please.
Thank you. Can council please demonstrate the benefits of a potential merger between Waratah Wynyard Council and Circular Head Council, and if there is evidence of general public support of this proposal?
Thank you.
And my third question, slightly adjusted, is River Road Consulting still performing work for Waratah Wynyard Council? If not, when did their contract finish, and what was the final cost to council?
Thank you, Mr. Hutchison. With your first question, I will respond. You have asked why haven't the councillors responded. That is their choice as to whether they respond to your email, and we will leave that question at that point. And I ask the General Manager to respond to your next 2 questions.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess in relation to a potential merger between Waratah Wynyard and Circular Head Councils, this council has put in a number of submissions to the local government reform process, or the future local government process, broadly articulating some high-level points as to what could be achieved by, an enhanced relationship. Clearly, further work needs to be done in relation to the detail behind that proposition, and we need to work through that as part of the process. And certainly further public support or public consultation and engagement is a key part of that process moving forward. So no change, as I understand the process, can occur without further consultation, further engagement with the community. And I understand there'll be a voting process of some description that needs to take place. So in order to allow people to make an informed decision, all of that information needs to be made available. So there is quite some work to go before that process is, further finalised. In relation to River Road Consulting, I think we've made it eminently clear a number of times that they were engaged for a single piece of individual work. That work was completed some time ago, has been submitted and completed, and there's been no further engagement since that time.
And final cost?
Thank you.
We've previously responded to that question, Mr. Hutchison.
You have a statement, Mr. Hutchison, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
You didn't tell me the answer to the question, which is the point that I was trying to emphasise. But I guess there's no debate over that question, so we'll leave it at that. Last meeting, I made it pretty clear that I'm offended, and I think councillors also might be offended when I ask them questions and they're not afforded the ability to respond. and that was the reason why I sent them the email. And then not to get responses back to those emails, and I got one response. So thank you, Councillor Roberts, for taking the time to respond via email. Councillor Bramich did respond via text. That wasn't that productive, but at least he responded. So thank you, Councillor Bramich. But there are still limited responses from around the table. So yes, it's their choice not to respond to their email, but it's your choice to deny them the ability to respond to why they didn't respond to me, if you're following. And I'm just not sure within the meeting procedures that you like to refer to at the start of every meeting where the change was when the public can't ask questions of individual councillors. So, yeah, I guess it leaves me wondering what is the point of public question time if there is so much restriction around what questions can be asked and restrictions around councillors being able to respond to questions of them. How are we supposed to have any degree of accountability under this authoritarian regime when the place where we come to communicate as the public with the council, where the decisions actually happen, is basically a place for council only, and the public is basically asked to sit in the back and be quiet. So yeah, they're my concerns. And yeah, I mean, if it was one or two councillors that didn't respond to the questions asked, but it was quite a number, I just wonder if there's been conversations about whether or not to respond to me. And that seems pretty upsetting if that's the case, because as someone that is a ratepayer and a member of this community, I expect representation, not coordinated attempts to prevent me from having questions asked and prevent me from being answered. So, I know councillors can't respond in this instance, but again, I encourage you to respond. You don't have to respond in a way that makes me happy, but I do ask for that fairness of treatment. You have mentioned about respect. I think it's respectful to respond to emails when they are sent. And it was only less than a year ago where the general manager berated me in a public space, embarrassed me in a live meeting for not responding to an email. So, if it's about respect, mutual respect, and we've talked about that, haven't we, Councillor Hyland, about having a bit more respect for each other, then I would appreciate some. So please respond to my email so that I can be informed as much as possible as a member of the community, not someone that has privy to inside information around the council table that you all have. Acknowledge that I'm coming from a place sometimes of ignorance because I don't have the information that you have access to. So that is a position of privilege, and you should value that and understand that, because people in the community don't have that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hutchison. We will now move on to planning authority items. There are no planning items on this agenda. Item 7, responses to councillor questions taken on notice from the previous meeting. Councillor Bramich, lighting at Wynyard Bowls Club. You have a question there with, there is a response from the officers. Thank you, Councillor Bramage. Councillor Hyland, the roadwork delays, there is a response there for you. Thank you, Councillor Hyland. Councillor Roberts, DDA parking. You asked a question about additional DDA parking. There's an officer's response. Thank you, Councillor Roberts. No councillor questions received in writing. Councillor questions without notice. Councillor Courtney.
Can I respond to what Mr. Hutchison has just spoken on? Am I allowed to respond?
This section is very clearly questions without notice, so you can ask a question without notice.
Can I put on the record then that I apologise that I haven't been responding to emails in the last month? I got told recently that I have cancer, and that has affected me over the last month to the point where I haven't been able to get my thoughts together to be able to respond to a lot of the emails coming in. I do intend to respond, and I would just like to know if I can put that on the record.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Are there any further questions, please? No further questions. We shall move on to item 8. Notices of motion, nil, have been received. Reports of officers. Item 9, Coopers Lane speed limit reduction. The recommendation, there are 2 parts to the recommendation. Could I have a mover for that recommendation, please?
So moved.
Councillor Bramage moved.
Seconded.
Seconded, Councillor Roberts. Councillor Bramage, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Thank you. I guess not much could be said. It's just for noting what the department have recommended. I presume it's going to be a good thing. I hope it's going to be a good thing. It'll give their residents a chance to phone the police if someone's speeding, and the opportunity to them to react. But thinking about it, I've just got one concern: is you got Coopers Lane, then we come out onto Seabrook Road, and then you got 60 to the top of the hill, but then it goes back to 100. So, you know, like, I just don't know where we are with the speed limits on the country roads. And I just hope we don't make it too confusing for the motorists. I guess that's my concern. But for the residents, they're going to be very happy with this, with the petition that come towards us. I know I've been on about this before. I'm just wondering, it's probably a question to the Director of Engineering, how hard is it to get the speed limit painted on a road as well as the signage? Because on the mainland they do that a lot, and I think it works well. It's noticeable. I don't know whether we're behind the times here or what. I don't know whether that's something we could look at or get the department to do or not.
Through you, Mayor, there is a practice that's similar to painting speed limits on the road, and I believe it's in the direction letter, and that's to put the yellow new speed limit ahead signs in place for 6 months. It's not a permanent solution by any stretch, but that's the current DSG practice, I guess.
Yep, thank you. Yep, thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any further speakers to this motion? Councillor Hyland.
Thanks, Mayor. I think it's it's not a one-cap-fits-all situation, because given the topography of our municipality and the ones surrounding us, and I think people just got to be very vigilant about what's going on in country roads, and we do have to have some 60s, some 50s, some 80s, and then you're back onto the 100s. So people have just got to be very vigilant of where they're at, and the speed limits on all roads. I think they're pretty well signposted at this stage, but yeah, I think you've got to just watch where you're going.
Thank you, Councillor Hyland. Are there any further comments? Is there anyone wishing to speak against the motion? No one speaking against the motion. I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 9.2, the annual plan update report, the 1st of July 2022 to 30 June 2023. The recommendation is to note that annual plan. Could I have a mover for that motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Could I have a seconder?
Second.
Councillor Highland. Councillor Roberts, did you wish to make any comment?
I just would recommend that people actually read the agenda and actually look up some of these details because they are quite thorough. And as at 30th of June 2023, 73% of actions are fully complete and 27% of actions are in progress, which goes to show that the council's very productive and progressive. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any further speakers to this motion? If not, I put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. Moving on to the to 9.3 Bioenergy Forum, there is a recommendation there that Council note the successful delivery of this forum. Could I have a mover for this motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Courtney.
Seconded.
Councillor Roberts. Councillor Courtney, did you wish to say anything about this?
No, I think it's fantastic that the event's gone ahead, and I think that's great that our area is involved in such important conversations.
Yes, and look, I do wish to thank the General Manager who managed to facilitate this forum as I was away. But it does say in our notes, feedback from attendees was extremely positive, with many commenting on how much knowledge they have gained and thanking Council for taking the initiative to hold such an event. The event was free for attendees, including lunch and refreshments. Council provided the room and State Growth paid for the catering. So it was a good collaboration and it sounds like it was a very, very successful event. If there are no further speakers, Councillor Highland, you wish to...
Just probably should also add in there, thanks to Saputo for their support as well, being part of that.
Thank you, Councillor Highland. Councillor Roberts?
Just note where it says here the forum was opened by Council's General Manager Shane Crawford. So thank you, Shane.
I did thank him, Councillor Roberts. So I will put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 9.4 is the quarterly information report, infrastructure and development services. There is a recommendation there that Council note this report.
So moved.
Councillor Courtney.
Seconded.
Councillor Roberts seconded. Councillor Courtney, do you wish to speak to this report?
Not to the report, but I do think that there's something in the report that I'd like to raise. Our national heavy vehicle permit applications. We seem to have a few there. I'm wondering whether that's increasing, whether we are looking at the potential for it to increase with the amount of boats that are going to be coming into the Burnie Dock. And if it is going to increase the trucks between the two ports in our area, can we revisit the fact that we do not get our fair share of heavy vehicle tax? I think if we acknowledge that there's going to be more boats out of the Burnie port and more boats out of the port down the Stanley Way, we're not getting that heavy vehicle tax that is our fair share up this end of the state. And if we're going to have more trucks because of more boats coming into the ports, can we please revisit us getting our fair share so we can look after our roads?
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Mr GM, would you like to make any comment there?
Very little, thank you, Mayor, but I will point out we obviously had our hearing today for the future local government process, and certainly part of our submission was around that heavy vehicle tax, as has been in our written submission. Equally, Circular Head Council, and I think perhaps even one other raised as an issue for this corner of the state. So the message is through loud and clear to the local government board. We now obviously wait with anticipation to see if there's movement from the state government, but we'll continue to raise that point. I haven't done the numbers that you've suggested there, but we can continue to explore that and look for if there's any further evidence to support our position.
Thank you, Mr GM. Are there any further speakers to this report? Councillor Roberts.
I just want to point out where it says in the project updates that the draft Tasmanian housing strategy was released for public comment, with council making a submission on the 17th of July 2023, and I just want to commend council for that around affordable housing as well, and also the changes to the draft Tasmanian planning policies. So looking at rezoning and different things for regional and rural areas, it just shows that our council is right on the cutting edge of pretty much most things. So thank you very much to our General Manager and our management staff and our staff at council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Councillor Highland, will you?
Just a question, if
Yes.
I may. Under the works and services, the top of the list is shoulder grading. Have we talked about anything yet in regard to those grassed shoulders?
Yeah, through you, Mayor, we've just started on a 4-yearly basis. We look at each infrastructure asset category, and roads is this year. We've had our first meeting around shouldering, verges and roadside drainage. Quickly moved to the need to look at doing more and better than what we have been doing. I think the works talked about there in the last quarter, possibly sections of Aldina Road. I might be incorrect on that, but the shoulder grading practice as a whole, we're meeting with staff on the ground and in agreement that we'll look at that closely.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Are there any further comments from the floor? If not, I put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 9.5, Council issued delegations, Planning Services Coordinator. There's a recommendation there with 2 parts. Could I have a mover for?
So moved.
Councillor Roberts. Could I have a
Seconded.
seconder? Councillor Highland. Councillor Roberts, do you wish to speak to this motion?
Just that I agree with it, and obviously with things changing around a little bit, it makes a lot of sense. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any further speakers to this motion? No further speakers. I put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 9.6 is the digital recording of council meetings policy. There is a recommendation that council adopt the reviewed digital recording of council meeting policy. Could I have a mover?
So moved.
Councillor Courtney.
Seconded.
Councillor Roberts. Councillor Courtney, do you wish to speak to this motion?
No, I'm not going to speak to it, but I would like to acknowledge that this is, when I ran for council, this is one of the things that I wanted as an outcome for me being on council, to get digital recorded meetings. And I was glad when Ali House said that she was happy to put the motion up. I think this is one of the best things that we've done in the modern age, and I think that it was good for us in particular because we embraced the whole digital media before COVID. So our council was head and shoulders above a lot of councils in Tasmania that during COVID struggled to be able to deliver the council meetings and what was going on to their communities. And I think that we've set a standard here at this council with our online meetings and how quickly we embraced it and how quickly our numbers have gone up of people being engaged in what goes on at council. So I think it's been a really progressive move, and I'd just like to thank the General Manager for, when we asked him to do it, just went out and got it done. Didn't consider that the cost implications were a major hurdle for us to get over, and has done his best to make sure that we engage our community and we inform our community through these digital online meetings. So thanks very much for what you've done so far, and thanks very much for keeping it ongoing.
Thanks, Councillor Courtney. Are there any further speakers? Councillor Roberts?
I just want to piggyback on what Councillor Courtney's saying there, and I actually want to give great credit to our General Manager in regards to the submission responses, the policies he put together. They're absolutely wonderful, and it really does put us on the cutting edge for councils, especially on the northwest coast of Tasmania. So much credit and well deserved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. It does demonstrate the leadership that this council has followed and certainly pushed through with, in particular regarding this our IT services. So I think that we are very fortunate indeed. Are there any further speakers? No further speakers. I put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 9.7 is the Senior Management Report. A recommendation that Council note the monthly Senior Management Report. Could I have a mover for this?
So moved.
Councillor Roberts. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Raw. Councillor Roberts, is there anything that you wish to speak about on this motion?
Just want to say with the list of the activities undertaken by the General Manager during the period of 15th of July to 11th of August shows why we are at the cutting edge. We've got a hard-working bunch here, and our management team work just as hard as anyone in this building and deserve much credit. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. You're quite right. Our General Manager works very hard. Are there any further speakers to this motion? If not, I put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 9.8 is the financial report for the period ended 31 July 2023. A recommendation for this report to be noted. Could I have a mover, please?
I'll move that, thank you.
Councillor Raw. Could I have a seconder?
Seconded.
Councillor Hyland. Councillor Raw, did you wish to make any comments about this report?
No, I think it's fine, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to make any comments? Thank you, Councillor Roberts.
I just really want to encourage the public to actually look at the council agendas and read these reports. It explains exactly what's happening with their money, and it's pretty transparent, so I'd encourage people to have a look. Cheers.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Cheers. If there are no further speakers to this particular motion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 9.9, minutes of other bodies committees, Sustainability and Environmental Advisory Panel, held on the 18th of July. There is a recommendation there that the council note the unconfirmed minutes and endorse the SEEP proposed focal areas via action plan. Could I have a mover, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Hyland. Councillor Roberts, do you wish to speak to this motion?
Just again, I feel like a parrot here. I'm just again this SEEP committee, Sustainability Environmental Action Advisory Panel, is actually cutting edge stuff for environmentalism, and much credit to the council and the councillors and the staff involved and the public.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Councillor Raw, were you wishing to?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Are there any, Councillor Hyland, you have a light on there you wish to speak?
Madam Mayor. Yeah, only just one thing that's popped up again since our bit of a talk with Cradle Coast Authority in regard to the access and infrastructure item that's on there in the Sustainable Murchison Plan. You know, there's a lot of stuff out there, and I think it's about time somebody grabbed hold of that and made a good start on it. It was very much needed.
Thank you, Councillor Hyland. I'm sure that will be taken into consideration. Are there any further speakers? Councillor Courtney.
I just want to take a moment to thank Dana Hicks and Daniel Summers, because this group came out of pretty much nowhere. It was just an idea that we had for this council to embrace the idea of having an environmental sustainability panel, and I think that, to their credit, doing it off the side of their desks has been absolutely amazing, that they've been able to deliver what they've been able to deliver. And even when we haven't, as councillors, been able to attend and chair the meetings, the minutes that I get back and the emails that I get back are a credit to Mr Summers and Ms Hicks. And I appreciate the fact that the council, I hope, will endorse this plan tonight, because this is really setting a standard again for this council in this state. Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Are there any further comments? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. Item 10, matters proposed for consideration in the closed meeting. There is a recommendation that the council resolves by an absolute majority that the matters listed below be considered in the closed meeting. Could I have a mover, please?
So moved.
Councillor Roberts. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Hyland. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. Item 11, closure of the meeting to the public. A recommendation that the council resolves by an absolute majority go into closed meeting to consider the following matters at 6:47
So
p.m. Sorry, that was Councillor Bramage and Councillor Roberts. So we close this meeting at 6:47. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously.